only an outline to the imagination of the performer. And we're looking for those performers who have that imagination to go beyond the notes of the score. We're not looking for what people sometimes call an urtext performance, where people are slavishly dependent upon what it says in the score. We want them to use that score the same way that Chopin did, as a point for extrapolation of his imagination into uncharted realms of uniqueness for that moment.
Brodsky, the wonderful 13-year-old violinist that you heard today, is one of the students of the Institute, and he actually represents everything that the Institute is all about. He's growing in a harmonious environment. His parents are very dedicated. We guide them. He has a wonderful relationship with us as teachers, not only professional but also human. And for 7 years he flew every 2 weeks across the country to receive his teaching instructions. Now we have a video conferencing connection, and life is much easier. But what he is really a representative of what we believe in. And when he plays, I hope that people who listen hear it in his beautiful sound, in his rounded personality, and his really childlike approach to music, which is very wholesome and very direct.
When we focus on an artist, or we try to help an artist or promote an artist, we make sure that that artist understands that it's not about him, it's about growing. It's about growing, it's about learning, it's about discussing, it's about brainstorming. And we want the little kids to feel the same way, to establish friendships, to develop interesting projects, to have fun, to be enthusiastic about everything. It's not, especially in the life of a little kid that practices, practicing 5 hours. I mean, it's really boring. And we want to show them that, they can not only be surrounded by kids their age who are just starting, but also by artists that can become, mentors.
And on behalf of the Alvin Turnberry Jewish Center, Mellon, and our entire congregation, I'd like to thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedules, I know, and spending this very special time with us. Thank you.
Today I had a conversation with Ji Young, and I was telling him that, I will put in the mail some of the CDs of some of our masters that have, we have presented, because we want to open up. We don't want them to grow up as purists. We don't want them to grow up with, with a very narrow mind. We want them to grow up with interested in everybody's ideas, because that's what the whole thing is all about. And so that's the idea behind, and I cannot tell you where we're going to go from here, because I really feel that when you start an idea, and I really feel that now this whole project is taking a life on its own. You start with an idea and you don't know where you're going really, but now I really feel that it's developing into something that has its own personality, it's its own being. It's even beginning to make sense, more sense to me, and a lot of more sense to people.
When Ji Young, Alexei, and Eugene were not involved in rehearsals for their performance, they were little boys running around in the Lincoln Theater, having a good time being little boys. They liked each other immediately. They enjoyed each other's company. They went outdoors. They looked at the palm trees. They looked at the sky. They ran around in the building. It was delightful to see them just being children when they were not being serious musicians playing important works by people like Mendelssohn and Schubert and Tchaikovsky and Chopin. And that's when you know that they are balanced personalities that have these rare, rare sides to them that take them way beyond the realm of ordinary children.
I have a class of 9 students in the pre-college, and most of them are around Ji Young's age. I have a great affinity for teaching talented kids of all ages, and it's particularly gratifying to teach the younger ones because they have such a clean slate and very few bad habits that one has to get rid of, and they're very straightforward and no nonsense. They do what they're supposed to do, and they grow by leaps and bounds, and it's always very rewarding to see it happen. Well, Ji Young always struck me as an unusually mature youngster. When he plays music, especially romantic music, he sounds like an adult poet, and I found that incredibly endearing and actually pretty awe-inspiring, because it's so rare that you see someone who can take a piece like the Schumann Papillon and make it sound like poetry, and he has that ability. We have many prodigies who don't develop to their capacity because they are exploited at a young age, and they're not allowed the space to grow and to learn new repertoire and to develop the way they should. And of course, in those cases, it's actually destructive, but if you monitor the individual very carefully and you're sensitive to their needs and to their ability to handle what you're putting in their way, then the performances actually do enhance their ability to develop, because you can't really develop into a performer without performing. It's an essential part of learning, because you get to learn your own self, your stage presence, your stage psyche, what you can do under pressure only when you're exposed to that kind of pressure. The series in Miami is one that allows these kids to perform within a very protective and nourishing kind of environment. So in that case, I think that it's a very positive thing for them, and it's a wonderful opportunity.